I'm honored today to be sharing with you our two recipients for the 2021 Exemplary Teaching Award presented by the General Board of Higher Education of the United Methodist Church, supported through a gift from 1942 DePauw University graduates George and Virginia Crane. The award recognizes faculty members who exemplify excellence in teaching, civility and concern for students and colleagues, commitment to value-centered education, and service to students, the institution, and the community. It was such a delight to read the many nomination letters we received for this award. The wide-ranging dedication to the craft of teaching excellence, care and concern illustrated in your nominations was truly heartwarming. With so many wonderful nominations, it was challenging for FDC to decide on a single recommendation. I'm pleased to share that Vice President of Academic Affairs Burke and I endorsed FDC's recommendation to recognize two of our colleagues, and President White concurred. While we had to narrow our selection to highlight just two, we appreciate all of the contributions to our students that were shared in the many nomination letters we received. We are truly thankful for all each of you give to and for your students each and every day. As I share about each of these colleagues, I've made very minor edits to the quotes in an attempt to preserve the identity of our honorees until near the end of my descriptions, highlighting just a little of what makes our first honorees teaching so special. Exemplified by what one of our colleagues shared, his ability to help students connect textual analysis and theory to their everyday lives adds deep intellectual support to my own work in the classroom and in turn enlivens the course objectives of my classes. Many of you spoke about a wide range of courses that he has developed during his time at DePauw, how carefully he crafts each course, and how through the course he develops and nurtures students, as well as adds to the richness of your own courses and department and program curricula. From the perspective of one of his students who shared on a student opinion survey, this course really taught me to consider each and every word I choose in any piece of writing, whether it be a research paper or a personal essay. Because every word matters in a brief essay class such as this, I truly mastered the art of brevity and concision, something I hadn't been great at before. This class also increased my awareness of things around me, such as the slightest details, in order to become an aware narrator. Each of you were both eloquent and persuasive in your nomination letters. For example, he speaks passionately with colleagues about the necessity of creating spaces of intimacy and vulnerability for DePauw students in our classrooms, the heuristic possibilities of encouraging students to own their discourses and stories, and the power of writing as an impetus for intellectual, identiary, coalitional, and transformational odysseys and change. Discussions with his colleagues on writing praxis spotlight his dedication to working alongside students, something that has influenced the way that I approach teaching writing in my own courses. The next quote highlights so much of what others shared and the full range of qualities represented in the United Methodist Teaching Award. He's a great advisor and advocates for students. In his capacity as a faculty advisor to the DePauw until 2017, he guided students through the treacherous terrain of reporting on the place where they lived and on the people with whom they were often friends or acquaintances. I witnessed firsthand just how carefully he balanced the student journalist's needs for autonomy with his commitment to helping them navigate a potentially perilous situation. He did all this with good humor, stern correction when needed, especially to colleagues and administrators who sometimes tried to influence the students' coverage, and a commitment to helping them always put out the best paper they could. And the through line was his respect for students and the important work they were doing. Another of you shared, "This colleague is a model for us all. From the perspective of a colleague, I see him bringing his full self to his teaching and his own writing, crafting himself as a true teacher, scholar, artist. For his students, he models a commitment to excellence, holds them to high standards, and celebrates their accomplishments loudly. He teaches them to love what they do, to take chances in their thinking and their writing, and to have a curious mind and to take themselves and others seriously." Please join me in congratulating Samuel Ottman, Associate Professor of English, as our first honoree for the United Methodist Teaching Award. As one of you shared, Samuel's courses represent some of the best that DePauw has to offer. Indeed, students often call them experiences, as in the best they've had during their time at DePauw. And finally, as was so powerfully stated, this is the essence of Samuel. He personifies the liberal arts experience. He is an inspirational force, helping students identify their strengths and talents while quietly and firmly urging them toward the kind of breakthrough that sets them on a life path towards excellence. He is genuinely excited when students choose their majors, get accepted to graduate school, or embark upon consciousness-shifting journeys around the globe. He's a natural educator who teaches with every breath, gesture, and carefully chosen word. Samuel is invested in the trajectory of DePauw students while here and after they launch into their life's work and purpose. Congratulations, Samuel, a well-deserved honor. Turning now to highlight the impact of the work of our second honoree. One of you shared, "This colleague is a vital and engaging presence in the classroom, who teaches some of the most important courses in the curriculum and does so at the highest level." Over the years that this colleague has been at DePauw, I have heard students and advisees rave about her classes. They speak glowingly about how she exposes them to groundbreaking ideas, how she holds them to high standards, but offers dedicated support to help them reach their goals, and how she engages the classroom with humor and wit to help them achieve deeper understanding of literary texts. Another colleague's contextualized, she embodies the best of the humanities, helping students to widen their field of vision and absorb new perspectives, and she does so with tremendous skill, grace, and humor. In reflecting on a classroom observation, one of you shared, "For the next 75 minutes, I beheld a master at the peak of her power, schooling students in the rigors of dissecting systems of power, privilege, and structured racism through canonical texts. On that day, 2 different students led discussions that easily engaged their peers. The ones who were not talking were rapping their knuckles on the wooden desktops and snapping their fingers like school was a learning party. I never heard anyone dive that deeply into James Baldwin." Turning to her mentorship role in our students' lives, several of you provided testimony, of which I highlight 2. To make a long story short, and to maintain the confidentiality of the student, suffice it to say that it has not been easy to be the academic advisor of a bright young person going through life's ups and downs, thousands of miles from home. Our colleague did this with patience and grace while holding an uncompromising standard, including independent study work during the summer. The other, her office is next to mine, and thus I witnessed the extraordinary amount of energy she invests in her students. Through careful attentiveness to the walls of her office and investment of her own time in curating imagery, she has developed the office as a learning space, a space that speaks, one that calls upon students to interrogate representation, identity, and power as soon as they walk in the door. In this space, she meets for hours upon hours with students, largely workshopping their writing, but also advising on life, graduate school, and very importantly, campus climate. I see the hours she spends with students, and I debrief with her after the emotionally and intellectually rigorous work she does, supporting students through traumatizing incidents both on and off campus. She invests her whole self in her students, and the work is evident in the love students express for her and her courses. As one colleague noted, nearly every course she offers is cross-listed between English and one of 3 other programs: Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, Africana Studies, or Film Studies. In this respect, her courses are intersections for non-English majors to study literature and for English majors to explore new areas of interdisciplinary. In another, in mentioning her breadth of her teaching across the curriculum, included a cross-listed course that is also shared across institutional boundaries through our GLCA Global Crossroads initiative. In sharing the impact of her many contributions, one of you said, "Among the many ideas we have exchanged about teaching, I offer the example of our conversations about the relationship between course readings and writing assignments, and how the guiding of students in the practice of developing a reverse outline of an article illustrates designing an argument in their own writing. I intend this hyper-specific anecdote to be indicative of a pattern. This colleague is knowledgeable about pedagogical research and attends to her teaching craft. She is an exemplary teacher, and I have benefited often from her example teaching, thanks to her willingness to make time among so many other demands for it. Trade teaching ideas with me." Another stated, "She has been one of my go-to colleagues when I wanted to talk pedagogy, books, and writing practice." More than one of you mentioned her opening of her home to solve temporary housing crises of both colleagues and visiting scholars. Speaking to her concern for colleagues and a value-centered education, one of you wrote, "She has confronted me with my own unconscious racist biases, and as a consequence, has given me new perspectives on my approach to almost every aspect of my own work as a professor and on the work of the department and the institution. I can think of no greater service that one colleague can perform for another. She has helped me grow, and she has helped APA grow in a historical moment when growth is both painful and necessary. Please join me in congratulating our colleague, Karen Wimbley, Associate Professor of English, as our second recipient of the Methodist Teaching Award. As one of you shared, Professor Wimbley epitomizes the qualities that this award celebrates. Her teaching rigor exemplifies excellence in the liberal arts education. The social justice content of many of her courses centers civility, concern for students' positions in the current historical moment, and commitment to value-centered education. Congratulations, Karen. It's so wonderful to celebrate your many contributions. In conclusion, I want to share that as FDC Vice President of Academic Affairs Burke and I considered the many nominees, we reflected on whether to have 1 or 2 honorees. The words from letters of nomination from the same individual that highlight the impact of the contributions of both of these honorees says it best. Both of these colleagues are exemplary teachers, and I consider them both eminently deserving of the honor to have their contributions to our students and community celebrated. I hope the fact that I have nominated 2 colleagues for the same award in the same year will seem in no way to diminish the authenticity and enthusiasm of my nominations. Congratulations to you both.